To the greatest track and field fans in the world, that would be you, our Supporters Club members. Welcome to the Friday 15. Also, welcome to anyone listening live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or however you're listening to the show. Welcome to the 2023 Bank of America Chicago Marathon preview show. This is Let's Run.com co-founder Robert Johnson, joined by Ace staff writer Jonathan Galt, who is in Chicago. I am not in the Let's Run.com Mid-Atlantic headquarters. I am in Boise, Idaho. First time in my life I've ever been in Idaho. Beautiful out here. Former Cornell runner of mine is getting married. But John, I'm excited to be talking about the 26.2 distance with you right now. You've texted me a few things, and I'm excited about two things. It sounds like Galen Rupp is talking big. Emily Sisson is talking big. As an American fan of American distance running, I'm excited about that. But I'm also outraged. Apparently, Connor Mantz has demanded that he be on the Olympic team without even having to qualify for about it. We may have a Rojo rant in a few minutes. How much of what I said from the text messages is true at the press conference? Folks, John's not the only guy we had boots on the grounds. We also had Mike Knapp, guest contributor at the press conference. We've got it all covered for you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, Robert. This is truly a nationwide show. I mean, you got me. I don't know if I would say I'm in Chicago. I'm out near the airport. I'm in Illinois. You're in Idaho. Weldon back home in Connecticut. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it should be really good. Chicago is always pretty interesting when it's right before the Olympic trials because it's the last blowout for a lot of Americans. But we've got two fantastic possible world record breakers at the front of these fields in Kelvin Kiptum and Ruth Chepengedich. And then in the American race, Galen Rupp, Connor Mantz, Leonard Courier, I didn't talk to him, but he's here as well. Emma Bates, Emily Sisson. There's a lot of storylines to discuss. I think we should probably start with Rupp because he is the one that we didn't really know that much about going in. We hadn't heard anything from his coach, Mike Smith. We hadn't heard anything from Rupp himself. I did talk to him today, and he was quite optimistic, Robert. I remember speaking to him before the New York City Marathon last year, and you could just tell he was trying to talk himself into thinking he was in shape, that he was ready to go. It was pretty clear by the end he wasn't. And he said after that race, he talked to his coach, Mike Smith, and they're like, look, you can't be just struggling through training and just trying to survive. You need to be able to train and thrive in training. What they mean by that is stop trying to muscle through and run when you're less than 100%. Take some time off, get fully healthy, then come back and hit a marathon hard. He thinks he's done that. He says they've totally overhauled his running form. He said last year it got really bad because he was compensating for this big back injury. And so he was just picking up a lot of bad habits. They've worked with biomechanics specialists. They've been in the weight room trying to fix it. He thinks it's going to be vastly improved from last year. And he said he's been able to do quite a lot of volume. That's one of the reasons they didn't want to race he hasn't raced since March. They wanted to make sure he got that volume up. And he's happy with how it's gone. He said it's been his best build-up easily since Chicago 2021 and maybe even before that because in that build-up he was starting to feel some pain. The way Rupp, when he shows up to one of these things and he's in shape, he usually doesn't run badly. So I think 206, 207 for this guy on Sunday.
I agree with you. Right now, the Rojo guarantee, Galen Rupp will be your top American at the 2023 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. If he's talking optimistically, in shape, I think he's better than Connor Mantz. On YouTube right now, Rojo's number one fan says, I haven't watched the interview with Rupp. Was Rupp in Flagstaff with Smith preparing for this? And that was one thing that stunned me when I called you in my stop in Denver on the way out here to Idaho. I said, I asked you about Rupp. He said he's talking big. He seems like he's in great shape. And then I said, where's he been training? And when you told me Flagstaff, I said, holy SHIT. I guess, well, that's good. Better than saying the word because young kids probably can't spell. If you're 5, if you can understand that as a 5-year-old, as a father of 5-year-olds, you're quite advanced. I apologize. But anyways, I was like, this guy's got all in. I'm assuming he left the kids behind, the wife behind, moved to Flagstaff. That's big to me. Even on the Salazar years, he
Well, he
wasn't.
didn't move to Flagstaff, but he was in Flagstaff training.
So huge. Did he give any indication of what type of time? I'm expecting the 208.10 to easily go since the weather's good. Could he possibly PR here? Am I getting ahead of myself? Am I getting ahead of my skis since I'm in Sun Valley here?
I don't think that's totally insane to consider because I think Galen Rupp, like 206, I don't know, for someone, what he's done on the track, I think 206, he could go faster than that. But I don't want to get ahead of myself and say he could do it on Sunday. But he was asked, Chris Chavez brought it up. He's like, so no Americans got the Olympic standard yet. And Rupp just kind of scoffed at that. He was just like, I think things will be different after Sunday. So he's kind of like pretty sure he's going to run the Olympic standard. And if you're that confident, the Olympic standard is 208.10. He's run 206 3 times. I wouldn't be shocked if he does 206 again, based on just sort of how he seemed in that media interaction. Now, look, I don't want to go totally crazy here. Last year, remember after the World Championship Marathon last year, he was saying, oh yeah, I think my running form is better. My mechanics are getting better. I think we've turned a corner. And then he went to New York and DNF'd, and it was pretty much the low point of what's been a pretty low 2 years for him. He does seem like he genuinely means it, that everything's gone well. But, he does. We have been in this place before. We've been a little bit optimistic about Rupp, and then he still hasn't turned the corner. I think things are different, though. I do think he'll run well on Sunday.
Well, that's exciting to hear. All right, let's talk about, there's three other really top American men, I would say, on this. Conor Mantz, the top American in recent years. He's got we thought his world ranking was set. And then you sent me a text message last night and you said, Robert, I've got bad news for you. And I said, what? And you're like, the 2022 Chicago Marathon results will not count in the marathon rankings for the Road to Paris list. So he's in trouble. Does that also mean Matt McDonald's in trouble? Like, what does that mean? So Mantz, I still think he'll be fine as long as he runs a decent race on Sunday, because he ran pretty well in Boston this year, right, John? So but a DNF by Mantz would be a disaster. But you talk to them, you talk to his coach. It sounds like he's in wonderful shape. But you told me something else that really angered me, and I hinted at it at the beginning of the show. It sounds like Conor Mantz, true or false, told you, hey, if I'm the only one ranked in the top 65, and then they run the trials, and someone beats me, and because they beat me and they've run under 2:11:30, they get to go to the Olympics, and I don't, that's bogus?
He kind of said that, yeah. I mean, talking to Mike Knapp, I was listening. Mike Knapp actually had, he was there in the formal interview session. I was kind of talking to Mantz afterwards, but he's like, look, I don't really like that system, but that's the system we have, and I've got to deal with it. But I was talking to him afterwards, and I'm like, if I'm the only one who's got this Olympic standard, and the only reason America's sending anyone to the Olympics is me, which I don't think it's going to be the situation, but it could be. U.S. only has 2 people with the standard. It's him and Rupp. To him, he's like, how does that make sense that I'm the one who earned this spot for the United States, and then they just get to replace me? The other thing was, he's like, what if no one has the standard at the trials? Like, do I even bother running the trials? If I go to London, and if I don't run the trials and I run 2:08:09 in London after the trials, does that mean I'm in, or would then USATF go back and select whoever was first at the trials if they had the 2:11:30 standard? He doesn't really understand that. So I think it's
Connor, there's a reason why you have a goddamn agent. Figure that out. It's not that hard to figure out. They would go back to whoever won the trials.
They've asked USATF. That's what him and Ed Eyestone said. They've reached out to USATF, and USATF has not clarified the situation for that. So again, I think some of it is just frustration with not knowing exactly what's going to happen. But yeah, okay. I think, yeah.
And I understand some of that. As an athlete, you want it crystal clear. If you're going to cancel a race, give us the wet bulb temperature when you're going to cancel a race. Tell us who's going definitely. And Chris Fox former Syracuse head coach, now assistant coach at Syracuse. His wife would have made the 2000 Olympic team in Pittsburgh, but USATF changed the criteria, and originally they were going to honor the standard, and then they decided to honor the results of the race. So I get why you want that double down. And World Athletics, I'm blaming this on you because, look, they should just send the top 3 in America, period. But Mantz is like, oh, if I'm the only one that's qualified, I should get to go. To me, there should be no qualification. It's not like you're holding up the marathon if you've run under – it should be 2:15 or under. If you run a 2:14 marathon, you're not holding up the crowd. You're not holding up the roads in Paris. If you're top 3 at the U.S., it's going. I mean, under Mantz's philosophy, we might as well just put the Orioles and the Braves in the goddamn World Series and not hold the playoffs. So I don't like it, and whatever. I do understand it a little bit from his standpoint, but Rupp's going to get 208.10. Mantz should get 208.10, and we'll have at least 2. And we know that. And it's more exciting for the sport to actually have 2 people bat it out. I just wish World Athletics would let us send the top 3, period. Okay, so Roger's number 1 fan, another guy, the same commenter on YouTube, has said, Mantz's team has talked big before. He's never really quite delivered in the marathon. Do you agree with that assessment, John?
No, he ran 208.16 in his debut, which is fine. That's a pretty good. How many other Americans are running 208.16 right now? None of them. So, look, has he gone to the Rupp heights? No, and he might never get to the heights that Rupp was at. But Rupp was Olympic medalist, world marathon major champion. I think Conor Mantz is capable of better. He hasn't done one of those like, oh my God, this guy, look, he was born to run the marathon. This is amazing. But I don't know. You want to act like 208.16 is a disappointment? I mean, you must think Conor Mantz has a really great future in that event. I think 208.16 is fine. There's a good run. I don't think he's yet to run a great marathon, but that was a good marathon.
All right. Let's get to a few things. I always say, why did I pay money, significant amount of money, to send Jonathan Gault to Chicago for several days? Why did I pay Mike Knapp a nice amount of money to go as well? And it's because I want you to make sure that you guys ask the questions that no one else will ask. And I want to see if you did that. If not, you may be paying me back for your trip. I started a Google document. I sent it to you guys this morning. And I said, like, look, obviously you're going to ask about what shape people are in, blah, blah, blah. But for Rupp, someone needs to ask him this question. The coach that made you the greatest American distance runner of the last 30 years, certainly, right? Certainly since Steve Prefontaine. On the men's side, Alberto Salazar, he was banned for the sport for doping non-athletes, basically. His ban has been lifted. What do you think of that? Are you going to go back to Salazar, or are you talking to him? And you gave me pushback. Do I really have to ask him that? I'm like, John, this is an obvious question. I mean, John Harbaugh was suspended from the Michigan football team for NCAA violations. They went back to him. Why wouldn't Rupp go back to Salazar, the man that took him from a junior high talent to 2 Olympic medals?
Well,
did you ask the question, and what did he say?
When you get suspended for 4 years, you don't usually get your job back. John Harbaugh was suspended for a few games, right? So, and the other thing, Robert, is just I feel like every marathon Galen Rupp has run in the last few years, I show up and I'm asking him something about Salazar, and it's like, the guy's trying to put it behind him. I keep bringing it up, but I did ask him about it. I said, look, Alberto, his USADA ban expired. Would you ever consider having him on as a consultant or working with him someday in the future? He's like, I'm looking forward to resuming my personal relationship with him. It sounds like Galen did not have much contact. That would be what I would infer from that, because he was worried about violating the terms of Salazar's USADA suspension and perhaps getting himself implicated and suspended. So he probably avoided a lot of contact. He said, I'm looking forward to resuming that personal relationship. In terms of coaching, I'm happy with Mike Smith. It's not something I need to worry about with the Chicago Marathon coming up. He did say something about I'm not sure what is quite within the rules. I think he might have been alluding to the Safe Sport suspension. Alberto Salazar is still banned for life by Safe Sport, and what they can and can't do within that. But he said he was quite happy with Mike Smith and doesn't plan to change coaches.
But you said when I brought it up, he had a smile on his face. I actually am going to commend Galen for the we can talk about what Alberto has done to people not named Rupp, but he's done an awful lot for Galen Rupp. And I appreciate that he had a smile on his face when his name came up. And I love the response. I don't think he has Rupp, if he doesn't believe he was doped by Salazar, has nothing to apologize for his association. This guy identified him as an 8th or 9th grader in high school and has taken him to the top of the world, or almost the top of the world, silver medal. So, top of Chicago Marathon, etc. So I'm glad that you asked that. Okay, the only other Americans I could see getting possibly the standard or a world ranking high enough are Leonard Career and Matt McDonald. Any word from them, or did we not get a chance to talk to them today?
Didn't get a chance to talk to him. I don't think Matt McDonald was even there.
So I hope Career can bang out that 2:08:10. All right, on the women's side, on the men's side up top, Kiptum, any talk about what pace they're going to go out, what record, how's his training, etc. The articles that I said, we saw one a month ago. He said, I got a later start. I'm not going for the world record. I saw an article earlier this week. He said, it's been a rainy season. I didn't have that in the spring. Do you have a sense, from talking to him, that he's not in quite the same shape that he was in London in the spring?
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say it's not quite the same. But he said, my shape's come around. I am in pretty good shape. What he said was he wanted to break the course record. He said he had a groin injury that caused him to miss some training at the start of the block. He said some of his runs were muddier than usual, that he would do a lot of his runs, the ones that were in the rainy areas, it was muddy. So that disrupted it a little bit. But he's basically like, yeah, I think course record is possible. And who knows after that, he could go even faster. Like with the way this guy closes races, if he's feeling good, maybe he goes out on course record pace and he ends up running 2:02 low or something still. I mean, this guy can run massive negative splits. So I think he's certainly my pick to win. And he didn't say a specific pace. I asked him, I was like, what pace do you want to go out? He didn't answer that. A couple other interesting things I picked up. One, he claims he's a year younger than he is listed on the World Athletics database. It says he was born in December of 98. He says that's wrong. He says it's actually December of 99, which would make him 22 right now. Which would make him, 23 right now instead of 24. So I don't know what the deal is with that or why it would have the wrong birthday, but that's one thing he said. The other is you remember when he showed up into the London Marathon, it was all in Nike gear, even though he'd signed this deal with a Chinese company in between. And then suddenly he's wearing Nike stuff and he races in Nike on the day of the race. There's all this confusion. I asked him, hey, dude, what was the deal? What happened here? You were with a different sponsor. And he's just like, I'd rather not answer that. So he didn't go into details about that, but it seems like either him or his agent messed up royally on that one, but we didn't get any clarification today.
But thanks for asking. That's a little bit difficult question. Kenzie's 22 years of age, and his two marathons are 2:01:53 and 2:01:25. Hopefully, we can maybe email the race organizers, get the pacing. They've got to establish the pacings. We'll try to publish that maybe on the forum before the race starts. All right. Let's move to the women. I'm sharing a room here, John, in Idaho. I said I would try to be 30 minutes. My roommate's coming back. On the women's side, last year we obviously had what at the time we thought was crazy. The winner of the race, help me out with her name, John.
Ruth Chepengedich.
Goes out 65 minutes. We've never seen anything like it. Fades a little bit, runs 2:14. We're like, oh, she would have broken the world record. So I was kind of honestly expecting a world record this year if she's in similar shape, but now the world record is significantly faster. What did she say about her fitness as compared to last year and her goals for the race?
She thinks she's fitter than last year. I said, what pace do you plan on going out at? She says between 65:40 and 66 flat. And I pointed out to her, that's what you did last year and you slowed down. It might have cost you the world record over the second half. And she's like, yeah, I think I'm better prepared to hold it this time. So we've seen her run this way in Chicago before. Both of her Chicago victories when she was in London in 2020. She does like to go out hard, and she's committed to it. on Sunday. So I think she's in pretty good shape. She said, I think one day it's possible for a woman to run 209, 210. She didn't say she's going to do that on Sunday, but she's feeling pretty confident and I think fitter than last year. So who knows whether she holds on, but I wouldn't be shocked if she ran 212 or 213.
All right, Kara Penikowski, you've hired me to rabbit this race in the past. You've hired Weldon Johnson to hire to rabbit this race in the past. If you need advice from an expert rabbit like myself, this is very simple, John. She should go out in 65-45. Why? That's the standard the U.S. men need to hit, 2:11:30, to be eligible for the Olympics. So you just have a giant pack of all the men that want to get the 2:11:30 out of the way, and her. Then she'll have a ton of people to run with on the way home. So, what about Hassan? Is she going to go with that pace? What did she have to say?
Yes. I said, this is what Chepengedich is planning on doing. She's like, sure, I'm going to go it. Her whole thing is, this is a learning experience for her. And not that she needs to, she's still learning the marathon, even though she won London. But more than that, she just wants to see how her body responds. She's like, I ran the World Championships 6 weeks ago on the track. I just want to see how I can do in a marathon after that. Most people don't try something like that. They don't do a triple at the World Championships and then try to run a marathon 6 weeks later. So she's like, win or lose, I don't really care. I just want to see how I feel and see how it goes. I will say this. She was like, the World Championships in Budapest, I wasn't at my best. She felt that she was still, she wasn't 100% doing marathon training, but she didn't feel she was in peak track shape for Budapest. And she's like, yeah, that's why I, got beat and didn't get the gold medal in any of those events, that sort of thing. She's also said that was why she was doing those track workouts after the 1500 final. She's like, yeah, I just need to keep my mileage up to do Chicago. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's crazy. After she did that Olympic triple in 2021, took her 8 months to get back to training. This time around, she's doing it. She hasn't stopped training since Worlds, and it's 6 weeks later than she's running a marathon. But the way she explained that, Robert, is in 2021, Tokyo, that was the peak. That was what she built her entire year around. And when it was over, she was like, okay, I need to be done with the sport for a while. That wasn't the way it was in Budapest. It was more of this will be fun to do in Budapest, but I've got Chicago on the horizon. It wasn't the be-all, end-all, and she wasn't as mentally, physically, emotionally invested in Budapest as she was Tokyo.
Yeah, I think it's totally a mental thing. In case you don't remember what happened at Budapest, August 19th, almost won the gold on the 10,000, fell meters before the finish line when she had the lead, finished 11th. August 22nd, bronze in the 1500, August 26th, silver in the 5,000. That's exciting. We've also got Jocelyn Jabkowski, 217 PB, Tadu Tashoma, 217 PB. Gonzebe Dibaba, the range we've seen from women's runners in recent years, former world record holder in the 1500, 350. She's run 2:18:05. Did anyone talk to Dibaba? Is she still with Jama Aden? Any comments on that?
I talked to her. She said that she's hoping to run a PB. She wants to be selected for the Ethiopian Olympic team, but she knows it's going to have to be pretty damn fast to make that team because we've got a 2:11 woman. We have Amane Bariso, who just ran 2:14 last year. So she doesn't know what it's going to take, but she wants to run fast and make her case to run the Olympic marathon. She's not being coached by Jama Aden. I said, had you heard the news that he was cleared in Spanish court last year, or not cleared, the case was dropped against him. So if you want to call that being cleared, I don't know. There's still some doubt. The judge had some doubt about his story not adding up. But she said, I haven't had any contact with him since we parted ways after the Olympics in 2016. And at this point, she's not looking to reunite. He's a track coach and she's a marathoner now. So they don't have any relationship anymore, and it's unlikely it'll be rekindled.
All right, what about the Americans? We've got Emily Sisson, who you talked to Ray Tracy. He said, her coach said she's in better shape than she was last year. Everything's gone well, but the focus is not on time. She just wants to run with, there's going to be a rabbit, but the focus is not the American record. And then try to race like Emma Bates over the second final 10K or 15K. Is that what she indicated to you? Anything changed there? And what did Emma Bates have to say?
Yeah, I didn't talk to either of them. That was Mike Knapp, who handled that for us. But you're
He's got an
basically
article up on the homepage, so check that out. Go to the homepage every day, click on the articles, click on the ads. Thank you.
you're basically right on that one, Robert. 69-45, I think, is the halfway split that their group is going for. And if you remember last year, I think Emily Sisson came through at about 69-26, something like that.
So what's the halfway split for this year for them?
They're going for about 69-45, I think.
Okay.
She did have, two personal paces, but the way Sisson and Bates, I think, are approaching this are like, hey, 69-45 is still not super slow. And they're going to end up, probably it's going to be the two of those women racing each other over the second half. And that could drive them to run really fast. So Emma Bates, she said that she thinks she's in phenomenal shape. And I believe the numbers 218 or 217 were thrown out. Oh, okay. Here's what Bates told Mike Knapp. She said, I think I ran about 70 minutes at the World Championship Marathon for the first half. It wasn't as good conditions. The goal is to feel as good as I can in the first half, then try and finish in the 218, 219 range. I'm in phenomenal shape, and I think I have the wheels under me to run fast this weekend. So, yeah, it's going to be a good test. And I think the ideal scenario is they both make it to 30K, which I think is when Matt Yano is supposed to drop out. And we get to see him go back and forth and do battle and hope they got a camera on the lead American women, because sometimes we miss that in Chicago.
Let's hope. As much money as you're spending on the race, hire camera crew, hell, hire Jonathan Golden on an iPhone. So if Bates does it, she'll be what, the fourth American under 220? We've got Castor, we've got Sisson, and we've got D'Amato.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting. Catching up here on a few comments from YouTube. Someone wants to know which record do we think will be broken? Sub 210 marathon, or which barrier will be broken? Sub 210 marathon for women or sub 14? Easily question for me. Sub 214. I mean sub 14 for 5K.
A woman just ran 14 flat .21 like a few weeks ago. Obviously, it's sub 14.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, 210 might be months or years away. Another question earlier, someone wanted to know about who's in Adidas. Could the Adidas new shoe be better than the Nike shoe? I think it's possible. If it is better, I don't think it's like the Nike shoe to old flats. I think it might be 20 to 40 seconds better. But which athletes in this race are wearing the new Adidas Super Shoe?
I don't know. I haven't asked them. I don't know. I know Benson Kipruto, the reigning men's champion, is Adidas. Most of the other athletes we've just talked about are not. So
because Chicago is a Nike race, it's sponsored by Nike, so that would make sense. I just want to know if anyone, thing to look out for. Anyways, Weldon apparently is texting on YouTube. He wants to know if we talked about Rupp and Salazar. Yes, we've already talked about that. Rupp, in case you missed the beginning of the show, had a smile on his face and said he's looking forward to rejoining his personal relationship with Alberto, but is happy with Mike Smith. All right, John. Anything else? I mean, I think we should try to get out of here soon. I'm very excited for this race. I mean, there's a lot going on. Like, I think sometimes we don't realize like how special something is until after the fact. We have potentially the world's greatest marathoner. We could have the LA Kipchoge of the 2020s in this race, a guy that's run 201 in 2 races. He's running on U.S. soil. We have Rupp in good form. We have Mantz in good form. We have 2 great Americans. We have potential. I mean, I would almost say a world record attempt in the women's attempt, but I don't want to say that. Hassan, all these other 217 women, former 1,500 meter world record holder. So thank you, Bank of America. Thank you for Chicago for putting this on, because I think sometimes, you can break down any race and not really appreciate. This is like A in terms of quality for me this year.
Yeah, it's great. Chicago, I mean, look, we've had a couple years where it's been weak. 2021, really weak fields. That was because it was the COVID year and we had all the marathons at once in the same season. But last fall I was looking at London instead of Chicago, and we did have the American record. But yeah, this year is terrific. I think it's one of the most exciting Chicago marathons we've had, and I think we've got some special things in store. We didn't even talk, Robert. I barely mentioned him in my preview. I had to be nudged by Rita Noah. Daniel Matejko, this guy's run 58 minutes 5 times in the half marathon. He's making his debut on Sunday. I forgot to mention him because I didn't look that far down the entries, but he's in there. Clayton Young's been running really well. I mean, these are just guys we haven't even had time to talk about really, but it should be a fantastic event this weekend.
Well, I guess ideal scenario. I mean, Clayton Young, he won an NCAA title on the track, unlike Mantz, right? Mantz didn't win one, did he?
Mantz won NCAA cross twice, but he never won a track title.
So if somehow Clayton Young could run 208.10, Rupp, Mantz, and either Young, Career, or McDonald run 208.10, we don't have to worry about this. That would be wonderful for US's fans. Women, you got nothing. U.S. American women's fans, you've got nothing to worry about. All right, let's make predictions, John. The winner of the women's race and the approximate time.
Ruth Chepingetich, 2:12.
I agree. I was thinking Chepingetich, 2:12. Men's side, oh God. This is a tough one for me. He's been playing down the world record, but he runs 2:01 every time. There's good races. This might be a little bit windy. Kiptum 2:02?
That's what I was going to say. This is boring. We're just agreeing on everything.
Hot takes, damn it. Which is better, Cornell, Yale, or Princeton, or Dartmouth?
Yeah, I was going to say, you didn't list the answer. The answer is Dartmouth. All right, top American, Mantz, Rupp, Bates, Sissom. What are we going with?
I've already said I started the show, Galen Rupp. Sorry, Connor Mantz. Your argument about being anointed on the American team pissed me off. But no, Rupp's better than Mantz, although there's a lot younger. So I would love for Rupp to run a great race and get beat by Mantz, but I'm going with Rupp. And I'm going to say 206, but no PB. What's his PB? 205.48?
I think it's 206.07, yeah. I believe.
206.23 for Rupp. No! Should I predict an American record? How cool would that be? What is it, 205.48?
205.38.
No.
The extra 10 seconds, too rich, huh?
Yeah.
What about Bates versus Sisson?
Ready? On the count of 3, you say it. We go 1, 2, 3, and then we say the name. 1, 2, 3. Sisson.
Yeah. That one I do think is the closest. I think that one's closer. Well, Rupp Mantz, it depends what Rupp we get, but Bates could take a run at Sisson. I think Bates is in very good shape, but Sisson's
I think Mantz can take a run to Rupp.
Yeah.
So, should be a good one. Hassan is fascinating, innocent and brave, yet so combined with talent and personality. I agree, Caesar. Great comment. Debaba. We got another commentator saying Debaba will win the women. Kiptum wins the men. I don't think Debaba's winning. So I'm interested, John, in terms of the world rankings. I guess I could get on there now. Matt McDonald, the American, because I was hoping he would run like 208, even if he doesn't run 208.10, runs like 208.30, finishes 7th. It would really help the Americans in terms of the world ranking. But you're saying the Chicago 22 goes out. I'm trying to see what rankings he has on his list here.
Well, he ran Boston this year, right? Didn't he run like 210 in Boston this year? I feel like between that and, ran 210.17 to finish 10th in Boston. Between that and a 208 something in Chicago, I assume he'd be fine.
But see, the problem is they penalize the Boston time because it's downhill, and 210 is not nearly as fast as 208. So I'm trying to figure out where he actually like 95th in the world if you go to 9 deep. 2:10:17.
Robert, this is really not compelling podcasting. So
No, it's not. But so he's going to lose this Chicago Marathon from 2022. So the result that he's losing is not that amazing in terms of his world ranking. He's going to lose.
Look, Robert, here, let's put it into context. He gets 1,183 points for last year, 209.49 in Chicago. And he gets 1,172 points for this year, 210.17 in Boston. So he's, if he ran 209.49 last year and he's already in decent position, if he runs 208.49, that's going to be a lot more points. So he'll raise his ranking.
But the key is he has to be top 10. So we don't want these other African men. If you're not in it for top 5, please drop out. Thank you. Normally, I'm not for that, but
he was 12th last year, and
I know, but John, every bonus point helps. You'd really like him to run if he runs like 209.30 and is 8th, he's set. So do that. If we got 3 guys at the standard, it doesn't matter. But we would like to see, if you're an American fan and you're wondering because you're not going to be going to this type of detail during the race, you'd like to see a 209. Certainly top 12, and he replaces last year, and he's probably fine. But I'd like to see a 209 in top 10, and then he's really set. So we should be good. All right. We appreciate it, John. Don't do anything I wouldn't do out there. Have fun in Chicago.
All right. I know one thing you're not supposed to do this weekend, so I guess I'm not supposed to do that either. So, all right.
John, you're allowed to do that. Inside joke.
We're not going to go in any more detail than that. We'll leave it at that.
We're not. No, we're not. Supporters Club Plus, though, will be going live in 10 years once the statute of limitations on that joke goes off. But anyways, we appreciate all the Supporters Club members that are listening to this as a podcast. If you're listening live, hey, you don't want to happen to be on Let's Run when we go live, or on Twitter or X or YouTube or Facebook when we go live. You want to support the sport and prove that you're the best fan in the world by joining the Supporters Club today. Go to letsrun.com/subscribe. All right. Thanks so much, John.
See you.
See you soon.